All right, welcome to Invest in You. Today we've got a guest with us. So we've got Cameron LiButti and myself, Fredrik Sandvall, and we will talk about if SEO is dead or not. We will talk about if lazy marketing is the way to go in today's super competitive world. Hi, Cameron. How are you doing?
Good, Frederick. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure, absolutely. And so the audience is super broad from well over 150 countries. Some are startup founders, some are already many years into entrepreneurship, some people who have sold companies, some people are buying companies. So you really got a mixed bag of attentive people looking forward to you to drop some knowledge bombs. So what do you normally do? And what about SEO? Just to pick on that one.
Well, so we got our start because of SEO, but we do all things marketing now
Yeah.
for mostly local professionals. The majority of our clients are doctors, lawyers, engineers here in the United States. We do really well in those professional industries. I used to be an engineer, so it's pretty natural
Yes.
for me to communicate with those professionals. We do work with some larger service businesses, like one of the larger East Coast solar installers. Um, we will work with those. And then if it is just SEO, we
Yep.
do have a handful of international clients that we will partner with. We're very selective. We don't oftentimes market that we do that. It's kind of you kind of got to know us or know me to even request that
Yeah.
service. So, but the team is built around the local professional
That's
world.
great. So for the broader audience here, so how can people work with turning people's precious commodity, which is time, to some kind of attention, and using technology as a mean to make that happen? What some of the shortcuts that people can take that people might not think about normally?
So the biggest shortcut and where we start is by not guessing. And so what I mean by that is it's unlikely that you are going into business with a service or a niche industry that doesn't already exist.
Yeah.
So audit what is already working. Now, hopefully you've done or thought about your brand positioning and what makes somebody want to choose you over your competitor, right? So like that needs to lead. But
Yep.
if you are, a personal injury attorney, fresh on my mind since I was just talking to one earlier this week. Why would somebody work with that practice over another local personal injury attorney? What's your positioning? And we help build that out. So if you're brand new, we can help build that. But first starting there and then looking at your competition, finding the breadcrumbs, finding um, where you can spend your money. If you are new and you are trying to leverage time, you're usually trying to leverage your dollars as well. So
Yep.
you're not going to have a unlimited budget. So knowing where the most effective ROI is, I guess that's the hack is don't just do it all,
Yes.
be very selective about it. And that's oftentimes the fastest path to success.
Yeah, got it. So in this case, so you grab that attention and you hopefully you make something out of it. So that's great. Uh, Trust is a key word we've often had on this podcast, and in the economy of people doing a lot of the decisions themselves, with or without AI, they do a lot of the Googling and maybe using AI tools to try to find a solution to their problem.
Mhm.
Why does it make so much sense to use like the logical question that people are looking for as your kind of key search word so people actually can find you? And this is a super simple hack that most people forget about. When we talk about ourselves, we kind of forget like what's ultimately the problem we fix. Help us.
So, first question, so you brought up using AI to search for your solution. So, we're in a very interesting We're recording here in June of 2026. So depending on when you publish this, the
Yep.
answer is actively changing as we speak. Google finally published their first guidelines around AI search just in the last few months. Up until then, we had all been guessing with, as much research as we could, distill from the internet based on testing. But the first thing I would think about before being all in on AI search is who is your target? So I have two great examples. We have medical practices who treat most of their patients are 65 plus. They're not yet on AI or
Yeah.
using AI for searching. On the flip side, we have a tax attorney. Uh, Tax attorneys, for those who are listening who don't know this, tax attorneys don't get many referrals because people are embarrassed to ask for a referral for a tax attorney because that means, in the United States at least, that you are likely in trouble. And so, in
Yeah.
his situation, this very specific practice I'm thinking of, he is getting 40 to 50% of his new clients are coming through AI search because people are saying, "Hey, am I going to prison, jail? Like I didn't pay my taxes last year." They're using AI to talk. So first stop is is your target audience demographic using AI yet? If the answer is yes, then starting to think about a lot of people like to jump into it. I'm hearing this a lot from the C-suite right now is they've never thought about SEO, search engine optimization. Now they're hearing about AI optimization and they're going straight to that without first understanding that there's a whole foundational level of AI optimization. Google in their, you got to take what Google says, lightly, but if you look at their developer guidelines, they say good AI SEO or good AIO is
Yes.
an extension of traditional SEO. So having a well-optimized website, making sure the site is fast and built out properly is step one before we get into the AI search.
Yep.
And then step two, three, and four is starting to figure out how your competitors are getting cited. If you are an attorney or you are in an industry that is very competitive, videos I talk about, like that's kind of like level two, level three to how do you show up in AI search. The AIs are citing the YouTube video specifically a lot right now. If the conversations are happening on Reddit, making sure you're figuring out how to get in there, whether you yourself are doing it or a team is doing it. So this is all foundational to the AI search and just good traditional SEO, and then starting to look for some of those pieces that weren't traditional SEO, like YouTube. YouTube's always kind of been part of SEO if you wanted to go there. They
Yep.
are indexing now LinkedIn articles. They're indexing Facebook groups. When I say indexing, Google is referring to that. ChatGPT is a little bit of the Wild West still. Early reports look like they're using Bing a little bit more than we thought they were. Don't take that as gospel yet. This is all very new information. This is,
Yes.
a couple weeks old right now, is how we think ChatGPT is figuring out and crawling. And then on the AI side, it looks like from a search standpoint, we pretty much have Gemini, Google, and ChatGPT. Anthropic slash OpenAI is not yet really being used for customers or patients or clients. That seems
Yep.
to still be in
It's super
business
new.
lane. People are building products, they're building solutions, they're coding with that. So I've not been overly concerned with optimizing to Claude at this point.
Yeah. Now I will make it even tougher on you here. So you got a team in your company. It's sometimes really hard to be consultant to oneself. You know what to
Yeah.
do. It's so easy to tell the customers and help them, but sometimes we don't help ourselves. How would you rate yourself in terms of what you teach and preach, so to speak? And feel free to mention your company.
So I started I think what you're asking is like what do I do outside of the company to take care of myself? And
Yeah.
Fitness and health has been a big part of my life. So we've been living in this house. We moved here in 2020, and one of the criteria for this house was space for a gym.
All
So
right.
I have a gym, and I've done, I'll be 40 actually in a couple days. So I've done uh, everything from waking up at 5 a.m. to working out at 9 p.m. But now that I have a house with space, I right around noon every day, I just kind of put everything down and I go into the gym and I work out for, 45 minutes to an hour. And so that's kind of a good pause point for the day to get the mind right. I try to do all of my hard work before noon, and then I try to do a lot of like learning and education and company management in the
Yeah.
afternoon when the brain has started to burn out a little bit.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
how I take my own advice. I wish, some days I was better at it than others, but been pretty consistent this past
That's
few
good.
years.
Consistency is a key word there. So
Yeah.
flipping it back to using your own skills in terms of being possible to find online for your
Mhm.
business, how would you rate using your own tools and philosophies? How searchable are you? Because again, it's a very competitive space, and you already mentioned like you have chosen two niche areas, which is
Mhm.
really good. How else are you possible to find online?
So LinkedIn, I like to post on LinkedIn. I am not very consistent
Yeah.
about that, although I'm trying to get better. I really, as much as we try to use AI for organizational efficiency, I am pretty anti-AI when it comes to content. I want
Yes.
it to be my own original thoughts and ideas. So I do post to LinkedIn. I actually do talk about AI quite a bit. I've been pretty um, curious about how to implement AI into businesses, like from an operational
Yes.
standpoint, because I don't know where you are, Henrik, but in the United States, you keep hearing stories about how these large companies are investing millions and they keep falling down with it. And I'm seeing I saw that lightly with a few people here, but I've been pretty uh, on the side outside of my business focused on like what will implementing AI look like. So you hear me talking about that on LinkedIn along with other marketing concepts, of course. And then our website, speedviewmarketing.com, if you reach out there, those contact forms come straight to me and my senior account manager, and
Yeah.
we're very responsive there. So that's how you can follow me or chat
Yeah.
with me.
So how did you find the leap from being employed to more entrepreneurial and even starting to have employees yourself? How did that happen and what drove you to do the shift?
So I was an engineer here in Chicago, and I always was obsessed with solving problems. Like that is kind of who I've been my whole life. And that's why I went to be an engineer. And I got there and I found out you weren't solving hard problems the way I had expected. It's pretty, um, you're coloring inside of a box or
Yeah.
lines. You follow guidelines, you pick out the equipment, and the equipment installers tell you what you need to do. And so entrepreneurship seemed like the direction. And the first stop on entrepreneurship was to learn marketing for a business that I had gone to help a friend with. And I just got really good at it. It was just like a really unique problem. It's this digital marketing is this machine, and it's a mix of like a actual machine with human psychology, and there's no right answer and it's constantly evolving. And so that's how I ended up here. And then in 2019, I met a doctor who needed help and I started helping him.
Yeah.
And it kind of just grew from there. The hardest transition in my career was definitely the jump from me being the consultant that does everything to me being um, a the person who runs the company and having so there's 13 of us. That was the hardest leap, and it didn't happen overnight. It was a lot of I hired my own consultants to help me to learn
Yeah.
to how do you
Got it.
hire people, how do you talk to people, how do you build a team, how do you give ownership around certain tasks and decisions, and so that was hard for me, but that was something I've
Yeah.
worked very hard over the last 3 years to accomplish.
It was good to be humble and keen to learn, because it means you get faster to the actual earn later, and the scale comes with actually daring to trust others. So well done, happy growth ahead. So yeah, uh,
Yeah.
jumping back to some of the quick wins for people who are listening in. So people are at different stages with their companies.
Mhm.
They might have to choose between putting the money with like a website, uh, possible place to find you on Google, content, paid ads, or something else. What's kind of like step one, two, three from the
Depends where you're,
fundamentals?
yes, depends where you're coming in at. So
Yeah, assume
if
assume
you're,
assume nothing. Assume nothing.
yeah, I mean, if you're small, I think uh, if you're small and serving a local audience, I think networking is where you should start.
Yep.
And that is probably something really hard for people to hear. They think they can just jump online, post some stuff to social media, and the clients or patients, customers show up. I think it's better to get out in the market and talk to people that could be partners, understand what people are looking for. I'll use my sister as an example. She focuses on women's health, and she didn't, when she started that company, she didn't have money to invest into marketing. And so she would go to chiropractors' offices. She would go to yoga studios. She would teach yoga. She's a nurse, but she is yoga certified. She would teach yoga at other yoga studios, and people would find out that she also had this women's health clinic. And so that was really, and they've become very successful. And that was the
All right.
foundation to growing their business. Um, the middle section kind of depends on your budget. If you don't have a website in 2026, you should think about it. Does that website need to perform through SEO or ads? If the answer is yes, that website's going to cost a little more. If the web answer is no, I just really need to show that I'm here, then it's a cheaper exercise to
Yep.
accomplish. And then we work with all the way up to, we have a couple nine-figure clients and then private equity backed companies where in their situation, right? Like the budgets exist, that now we're coordinating across teams, right? From SEO to paid ads to engineering to, in the case of the private equity who's rolling up brands, they're calling me from a consulting standpoint, like, hey, we're thinking about buying this brand in this city, but we already have this other brand. Do we join it? Is there enough overlap? Do we keep them separate? What's the benefits? So at those levels, it really becomes strategic before
Indeed.
making bad decisions that you have to unwind years down the road, because nobody wants to do that when you're playing in a nine-figure revenue rate. Unwinding stuff is a nightmare. So trying to make good decisions early with the right consultants on board.
Yeah, I got it. Perfect. Yeah. So digging into that PE story without breaking any kind of confidentiality. So you have on one side many people working with consolidating businesses. They might have
Mhm.
like a holding company, and they're putting everything under one umbrella, and they might keep it simple, like light integration. And then you
Yep.
have the other extreme where everything is like now needs to be readjusted completely under one brand.
Yep.
Um, some of your observations, what's working well and not so well. I will add some thoughts afterwards.
So I just talked to a CMO, private equity. All of their brands are kept separate. So
Yep.
they're in industrial, a lot of industrial engineering,
Yes.
couple SaaS, but they're all very distinct and different businesses. So they're just, every business has a marketing manager. She oversees kind of the strategic outlook. She finds the partners like us to come in and help them. So we treat, in that situation, we have a great relationship with the CMO, and then we treat each brand as its own unique business, very similar to how we work with most of our clients.
Yes.
Our other roll up, while they are private equity, they're kind of at that roll up stage. They're all inside one industry. They're buying roughly the same type of medical practice. But for them, when they were buying practices, they thought they would keep them individual. In this industry, a local brand does better than a national brand. So
Yes. I see what
their
you mean.
their idea was to keep them all local and not change their business names. But what had, after they had started working with us, I pointed out, like, it's a lot more expensive to keep these individual. You have some pretty authoritative brands in cities. It makes a lot more sense to roll in some of these smaller brands rather than spending the money to grow them. And so they've purchased right around 18 practices now, I believe, over the last 2, 3 years. But we have them consolidated into 10 distinct brands. And so
I see.
that's it's not one or the other. It was, hey, let's look at the market, see where opportunities are, and strategically blend them. And I mean, we've saved them definitely marketing wise, we've saved them well into the 6 figures a year doing that strategy versus trying to build up all these small little brands that they're buying.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And also, then we got the brand, and very much close to that is the customers, because many of the things that you're working with at the moment is quite linked to geography. So can you add a few pointers in terms of like Google and other business tools that can help you to become visible where you operate, so to speak? I'm not talking about the online businesses now.
Um, you're saying you're not talking about the online businesses are, or
No,
you
no,
are?
I'm talking specifically about where you have got your customers in a limited geographical area. So where you can use
Hmm.
the tools to be known in a specific region, for example.
Yeah. So your two, I mean, your two geographic tools, I mean, there's more, but the two that we always start with or look at, we audit, are going to be paid ads or your Google business profile.
Yes.
So um, Google business profile, that's your highest R. That once that is in comfortably in the top three for your geographic area, um, that's your highest ROI. But with that being said, like, we have businesses in Manhattan where realistic proximity for one of those practices is blocks. Um, and if that practice wants to grow their radius, they find like, hey, they provide a service that's unique to their location. It's not really provided around the
Yeah.
city. The only option there is then going to be to go to ads. Now, if somebody is going to search specific service with like Manhattan, we can get that brand to show up. But if they're just like just searching that service, very hard to get that Google business profile to show up. In this practice, the owner woman, her practice, it's hard to get her to show up a mile away when you're in Manhattan. So the decision when it comes to geography is like, how far do we want to reach? And then we can decide which channel. And oftentimes with many of our businesses, it's both over time. On the flip side, we have some practices in pretty rural America where we can get their businesses to rank for 20 miles. And, because there's just not a lot of competition. They're not bumping into a lot of things. So figuring out, most of the business owners we talk to tend to know, like, hey, most of our clients, patient customers drive this distance, or if they're a service-based business, we will drive this distance. And then we set that as a radius and we work within that and determine which makes the most sense. We have tools that can estimate, where they're ranking and how they're doing. It's an imperfect science, but we're pretty good at it. The paid
Yeah.
ads data gives us a lot more information when we get into that.
Yeah. Okay. So for people who are listening to a podcast, you are the kind of person who might want to set up your own podcast. But one cool thing, you can be a guest on other people's podcasts. So
Mhm.
leveraging podcast for people who don't know how this game works, you're broadcasting what you do through a feed, and that feed is usually picked up by many others, and you can put this on multiple platforms. It can be on available on Google, Apple, Spotify,
Mhm.
etc., etc. So per default, to be featured like you are right now, Cameron, on a podcast is really good, because all of your links you might put in the show notes are now spread out of, like in our case, 25 plus different platforms. So it's really smart way to do it.
Yep.
Having said that, I don't have a clear SEO strategy for my own podcast, which might sound really stupid because I've been going for like 9 years. I have been consistent to have at least
Yep.
decent show notes and so on and so forth. But because the area where we compete is so competitive, I have not even
Mhm.
bothered to try to own even the word invest, which is one of the keywords in the podcast name because it's so big. but we rank really high, for example, for legal advice, for entrepreneurship, and many other super niche things because of the content over like 250-ish episodes. So,
Yeah.
what can people do to make their podcast even better and searchable? So this
So
is
don't
partly advice
forget,
to me and to everyone else.
yeah, so don't people when they think about SEO, they think Google, right? They immediately go to
Yep.
Google. Um, but you know, don't forget that there is also optimization for the platform that you're on. So you just said you're
Yes.
on 25 platforms, right? So uh most people in ecom think about this for Amazon because there are SEO companies that specialize in
Yes.
Amazon SEO.
Exactly.
It's the same for podcasts. So you have to play within the platform's limitations, but
Yes.
I'm super familiar with YouTube, even if this is not posted via video. You can create, right? So like people try to make the podcast titles really clickbaity.
Yeah.
And depending on where you are in your podcast journey, if you don't have a big audience, the clickbait angle isn't the best way to go. It's more of an optimization angle. So, you know, in this case, I'm just making this up, but like how SEO can grow your local business, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody might be looking for, SEO local optimization and, you start showing up and you fill out the show notes, you put your links into your brand. You're building this ecosystem around this singular topic. Will you ever win on the invest term inside Google? Knowing what that landscape looks like? Probably not. But with the AIs, right, we're having more conversation
Yes.
inside and with 200, you said 250 plus episodes at this point, the AIs are going to recognize that, like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, this
Yeah, that's
podcast has
true.
been it's all over. Um, you know, you have me on, and now you're sharing my authority. Like I'm sharing my
Exactly.
authority with you. You're sharing your
Yep.
authority with me, not just through our voices that people are listening, but digitally, right? Like they're gonna be like, "Who's Cameron LiButti?" Oh, we
Exactly.
see he's spoken. I think this year I'll be. By the time this is published, I'll have been on close to 20 podcasts. Oh
Yes.
wow, he does a lot of podcasts. This podcast must mean something. So if somebody's searching about
Exactly.
investing, niche
Yep.
health, those are like unique small ways that we optimize things that people overlook because we get so focused on just winning the top, the paid term for
Yes.
Google that people forget about those little
Yeah.
pieces.
No, thanks for that sidetrack because I think that makes it quite tangible also for other people. So that's super helpful. Moving on to another aspect here, you can easily find lots of different posts online which basically says like SEO is dead because now so many search inquiries are coming through AI. But in the end of the day, it's same, slightly different. What is the difference? I'm very familiar with, but people who don't know how this is done via AI and some of the sources AI is using versus the traditional SEO with keywords, tags, and so on. How is it different and how is it similar?
So it's the same as far as making sure everything about your website is optimized, meaning is it fast? Is it findable? Are you talking about your service areas? Is it internally linked correctly? Like all the traditional basics
Yeah.
that we've been doing for 20 years. What's different is that AI is reporting is able to look at more data sources around branding. So are you posting to YouTube? Are you right now, right there? Google has had a love-hate relationship with social media. It seems like right now they like each other. And so they are indexing LinkedIn content.
Yes.
They're showing Twitter X can show up sometimes. Facebook will show up sometimes. Instagram will show up. And so what is your social media strategy? How is that
Yes.
involved? So these are what I refer to as AI citations. If you are being talked about in Reddit, are you jumping in and having the conversation there? So having the conversation around your brand, what type of press exists about you, and again, back to where we started, is this all necessary? Are your competitors doing that? And I'll give you a great example. With our doctors, We are not doing YouTube videos. It's just we don't need it yet. There's not enough competition. We can still win in the AI search results. If you are an attorney, you really do need to be thinking about those video citations at this point,
Yes.
because your competitors are. So the big difference is making sure you're a holistic brand everywhere, sitting on top of the foundation that is traditional SEO.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, the views is very much a vanity thing. Visibility is great, but from there to actually convert into some kind of action, the many words on how
Mhm.
to phrase this, of course. Uh, some thoughts there, because you're working very much on the front side where people can find it. How can you
Yep.
make the copy so strong that people actually almost start to dare to almost make a reservation, for example, for a doctor or for that lawyer, for that matter?
Say that. Sorry, you broke up real quick. Say that one more time.
Assuming now, yes, you got the visibility, but how can you copy and your references and your 5-star reviews, etc., build such a strong case so people actually dare to like buy or book
Mm.
right online without maybe having even that human interface?
So we're in the middle of what this is going to look like.
Yes,
Like, um, w- we the only I can give you my opinion, but I will,
please.
before I give you my opinion, what we know is that there is this LLM s.txt file that we have been told, we as in marketing SEO people, should be on your site. And what Google is telling you, and this is in their developer documents, you can read this for yourself, that is not a ranking factor, is that file is nothing to do with ranking. However, at the same time, which how can it not be a ranking factor? They're telling us that when AI start to book for you and your business, you have
Yes,
to have this.
yes,
So, okay, they're saying one thing on one side, but then on the back side, they're saying, well, if you don't have it, you can't get booked with it. So, um, these are going to be questions. If you have a contact form, obviously that needs to be accessible from an LLM and an agent to
yes,
take action. That would be my team's responsibility. If you are medical practices come to mind, they're usually using their CRMs, appointment booking iframe on their website. That falls outside of my team's control. That is something that you want to ask your CRM, like, hey, how can an AI take action? How can it interact? What is the word I'm going to use is MCP, Model
yes.
Context Protocol. Like,
Yeah, I
what
got
is
it.
the agent's protocol to use your CRM to book for me? How can it interact? These are all things we are currently in the middle of in 2026, actively solving for it. We are changing code bases to make them faster, more agent centric, while at the same time still making them human friendly, right? This is similar but different to the 2016, 2015, when we went mobile first, right?
Yeah,
Everybody was
yeah,
desktop, desktop, desktop. And then it was like, oh, hold
yes,
on, mobile first. And so we're kind of in that now. We're, human, human, human. Oh, don't ignore agents. So we're in that transition period. Right now it's mostly Google/Gemini needing to do these things. I believe we'll see more custom tooling coming out of, I don't know for you, but for me, we're building a lot of custom stuff with Anthropic inside our own company. These types of agents or chats or functionalities, like nobody really loves Alexa. At some point, we'll be able to say, "Hey Alexa, I need a dentist appointment," and
yeah,
it'll be able to go do that for you. So
exactly. Yeah.
those types of toolings, there'll have to be some more direction around standards, I believe, as like an industry, but start with the easy to crawl your website, easy to know where your booking page is, and if there's a contact form, make sure it's readable. The fields are identified, because the agent is going to read all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good one, and also that triggers a side conversation I had with one of the co-hosts early this morning about. He said, no, no, no. Right now, the whole app layer thing is a little bit crowded, but I'll remind him about the MCP is not so crowded yet, and that's a huge
Right.
growth that seems too complicated yet for many people, but I think that's the next
I
trick. Yeah.
I don't deal a lot with this, but I will add Stripe is actively working on this.
Yeah.
They've been on the I don't know, cutting edge. They've been first in a lot of things, but one of
Yes.
the things they're first on is you can go and claim your like agentic tag essentially. And
Yeah.
so the concept is eventually your agent will be able to either use your agent's tag to buy other agents services,
Yeah.
or you have an agent that goes out and is able to find that. So if you're dealing with e-commerce, that's something if you have a checkout online, a payment online, that is something I would be looking into, is how is Stripe solving for that? We don't do a lot with that because we play in the local profession, like
Yes.
you're getting
Exactly.
invoiced with our clients.
That's a good
So
one.
we're not dealing with a lot with that, but I know, in e-commerce is going to be the ones that are leading the charge on that.
Yeah. So what else am I forgetting in this jungle of findability?
Um, I always come back to, the competitor stuff. I think that's such a overlooked thing. Everybody not panics, but they get so caught up in I have to do all of it versus, hey, who do I have to beat?
Yes.
Um, and I will add in that, like, what's the gap, right? So you knew earlier, you brought up what your gap is. Like, hey, how do I win invest? And you're like, that gap is huge. I'm never
Yes.
going to win that. But can I win, investment for entrepreneurships? Like,
Yes.
probably, right? Like
Exactly. Yeah.
that's a smaller gap that you can overcome through specific strategies. In your
Yeah.
case, talking on doing podcasts,
Yeah.
finding the gaps that you can win. We were just looking at a personal injury attorney, and um, boating accidents in her area were like that door was wide open, right? And let's go win that before
Yes.
we get into ride share or slip and fall, or like these high end very expensive. Like, the gap was smaller. Start there, make the money, have that ROI build and build and build. So I focus a lot on gaps when it comes to optimization.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, that triggers so many thoughts. I'll park it there. Take lots of notes instead. So for people who think that this sounds interesting, especially if they are in those fields that you already mentioned. So who would be the best person to contact you, reach out, or follow your work, and where can they find you?
So the people that I end up talking to, we partner with a lot of CMOs because we do, I like to say we make them look awesome, right? We do all that data analytics, we do all the development and all the strategy, and they get to be not the strategy. We partner with them on strategy. They get to be the strategy. So we work with a lot of CMOs. We work with a handful of private equity teams, and then down to business owners who are looking for where we will lead the strategy in those cases, but they need help with the branding. They need to kind of know what direction to take it in. I Nobody has an unlimited budget anymore, and if you do, you probably don't need a consultant.
Yeah, no,
You
exactly.
figured out a money glitch. So figuring out how to spend your budget effectively, like, we're really good at that. Like,
Yeah.
hey, the opportunity is here, go here first versus over here. Or how do you layer those in? All of our clients that started with us in 2019, everybody who started that year is still here. And, we didn't start with everything all at once. We've layered it in over time. We've adjusted strategies as the landscape has changed. So those are really good partners who like people who are strategic. We're definitely not a one size fits all. We like a good partner who's looking to grow, who's engaged with us. And then where to find us, bidviewmarketing.com. You can reach out to those contact forms, still go to me and our senior
Yep.
account manager. Like I said earlier, I was talking about, I do post on LinkedIn. You can always message me there. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, very responsive. So I'm still here in all the day-to-day stuff
That
all
sounds
the time.
great. We used to ask in the early days, and we've asked a lot of famous people this question. What is your favorite office you've had so far?
My favorite office?
Yep.
Oh, this office for sure, the one I'm sitting in. I know this is,
Paint a picture and why. Please
yeah.
motivate.
So I used to live downtown Chicago, my wife and we had I loved 2-bedroom condo. We had a roof deck that overlooked the city. I loved it. I was never going to move. But my office was the corner of our bedroom, and I was jammed in there on a little laptop with like a monitor that was falling off the desk. And so when we moved out here, this house had its own room for an office. And so my wife said, "Yeah, that's your room. I'm not going in there. You do whatever you want." And so I built, you can't see this, but I built it's 7 feet long desk. I built it at my friend's wood shop, and everything floats on it. So I have 2 computers. I have 2 monitors on the right. I have 2 monitors on the left, each with its own computer. The monitors on the right are all my like coding, agentic AI
Yeah.
systems. Computer on the left I run all of my daily company there. Then you can't see it behind me. Well, Henrik, you can. But
Yes.
I built, this was an idea I saw. I was just looking for houses for sale around me just to see what people were doing. And I found somebody's office who had album covers up on the wall.
Yeah.
There was no music that I loved so much that I wanted it behind me. So each one of these album covers I actually made with the help of AI, and they all mean something to me. And so that's only been up for a couple months now. I built the wood rails and I did all that. So this has by far been my favorite office. It's my space.
Yeah.
You can't see, but there's bookshelves pretty much surrounding me
Yes.
everywhere with books, and it's a very comfortable space. I like being in
Fantastic.
here.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a great, just like building your own company, to build your own office with pride and some flexibility. That's pure joy. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I've really
Cool.
enjoyed it.
So you have been listening to Fredrik and Cameron. We will of course put our details in the show notes. I'd love to give you the chance to mention a few words to people from all over the world, places we haven't traveled yet. So what would that be?
Um, what did you say? What advice?
Yeah,
Or
no, but yeah, say anything to close out. Could be advice or thoughts, anything.
Um, I mean, since this was about marketing, I think a lot of times people, and I think this is true of anything in our lives, is we are always chasing the next thing. And I said consistency earlier, and you pointed that out. And I think a lot of my success with our clients and my personal success has come from being consistent longer than other people are willing to be consistent.
Yeah,
And that's just where my success, I think, has come from. I'll be 40 in 5 days. And yeah, if I can look back and say, like, what was the thing? It was just willing to be uncomfortably consistent for longer than other people were.
yeah, great. Yeah, and this podcast of you listening and coming back to this podcast, you're also consistent because you keep learning different aspects of your business and your life. So welcome back, and that's all for this time. All the best. See you later.